Hey, this is Brett with You Bloom, and today we're doing our Q and A, for intuition. And sorry for the delay. I was out of town on vacation, so sorry about that. But we're here and we're doing it, and we're giving you some of the answers to your questions that you've been looking for. So let's get on it, right? All right. Um, Usually, I like to do a little quick kind of synopsis based on kind of what we've been hearing in your questions. So let me launch into that real quick. Intuition is an awesome tool for you. It's a way to help you find truth, because in this world of lies and deceptions and manipulations and gaslighting and smoke screening and all the garbage that goes on with betrayal. Um, Truth is something you need. And again, it's part of my collection of videos that we've been doing to help create safety. Because when you're feeling like you're getting lied to all the time, you don't feel like you're going to be very safe. So, getting a sense of truth and knowing what is true, or at least the best you can, is really important, particularly when you're trying to feel safe. And that's what we're doing with this video in terms of looking at and listening to your intuition. All right. Well, let's launch into some of the questions. You guys had some good questions, and I think they're going to further create some distinctions for us as we get into this process. So I'm going to slide over this window and open up our window for our questions. All right. So our first question is: for the past few months, I have been trying to listen to my intuition as to whether to leave or stay in my marriage, as to whether my husband is acting out again or not. He seems very active in recovery, but I have been through very convincing false recoveries with him before. So now I am leery. I can't seem to get answers. Everything feels like anxiety, fear, panic, or even trying to apply logic. But when I stop and really listen, and I hear things like, just wait and see, just work on you right now, and the rest will come later. The other day, I had a very clear feeling like, hey, focus on your healing. Don't even worry about what he's doing right now. I felt like it could be my intuition because it felt very peaceful and clear. But but then right away after, I went into my self-talk about how that leaves me feeling um, like a sitting duck. Maybe I'm just being a cow, like in avoiding hard decisions. Maybe I am just being naive and stupid, etc. How do I truly know my intuition when I have all of these things going on in my head right afterwards? And is that normal? All right. Well, that is a awesome, great question. And in terms of why it's a great question, I think it's a great question because it is absolutely normal. Exactly what you're feeling is exactly what all of us do. You're hearing all the different chatter in your head. There is lots of chatter in your head. There's lots of voices in your head. And I think you described it really well. I really do. I really think you described it perfectly. You talked about, kind of just sitting and calming, centering yourself, then listening, and then hearing these awesome answers like, hey, let's focus on you right now. Let's get you in a good place. And when you're in that, listening to that, you felt peace. However, when you flip back up in your head and you got back into your anxieties and doubts, what if, but, um, you start feeling anxiety again, and you start feeling flooded with all of your anxieties. This, this is exactly what we're talking about. This is exactly the lesson you are learning. Yes. So I love this question because it's just great description of what everybody's going through in your situation. So different. And it's a great example of what the different voices in your head sound like and feel like. All right. So for the first part, yes, absolutely, that is normal. Just so what we're doing is I call it discernment. We're learning to discern the different voices in your head. And one of the things that I think I hear in this question that's spinning you and causing you doubt is that in your anxiety, it's playing the what if game. And you're trying to use your intuition um, to create like prophecy, um, trying to predict the future. What if he's lying and tomorrow he's going to act out again? And this is just all a bunch of BS. I think he could be in periods of recovery and then relapse. Now, did that mean that the recovery he was in was false recovery? No. The fact that he relapsed again actually is a part of his recovery. That relapse is a part of recovery. So that doesn't mean that he was lying to you and not in recovery. He was recovering and then slipped and crashed. I agree. I agree that happens. That happens all the time. But in your question, well, in your doubts, you're wondering, well, maybe he was lying to me the whole time, and maybe I don't know, and maybe, and what if, and that's anxiety. That is so clearly your anxiety spinning you. So those are the voices that you need to practice calming and quieting because they're not useful. Again, I don't know what the future is going to bring. Sometimes I think people can use their intuition for prophecy. Sometimes, and I think that's if you're going to get any kind of prophetic, this is what's going to happen tomorrow. This is what the future looks like. It'll probably come through your intuition. I do probably think that. I agree with that. Typically, that's not the way I use my intuition. Typically, that's not the way my intuition works for me. Typically, what I do is I sit and listen to what feels true. What's going to happen tomorrow? I don't know. Is he going to relapse tomorrow? Maybe. But what feels true today? What feels true right now? Is he working his recovery right now? I would go with your intuition. Listen to your intuitions. Does it feel like he's working his recovery right now? If it does, then that's great. And focus like your intuitions tell you, focus on you. Now, the other thing, the other voice you're hearing is another voice in your head. It's your amygdala. Your amygdala is the small almond shaped kind of gland that sits in front of your limbic system. In fact, you have two of them that sit on left and right sides of your brain. Your amygdala is your alarm system, your anxiety. And your amygdala's job is one thing only. Your amygdala's job is to worry, is to look for danger, is to try and keep you safe by anticipating potential problems. Now, that's a good thing. I mean, I don't want to have you not have an amygdala and not have, fear. Fear is a, normal human reaction. But do I want you to live your life in fear? Do I want you to make all of your decisions and to allow everyday life to be focused fear in this kind of what if game? No. And the reason I don't want you to live that way is because I particularly don't find it useful. It's a lie. The lie is your amygdala, Amy, that's what I call her because it's spelled Amy G. Dalla. So Amy, the amygdala, she's telling you that if you live in fear, you can somehow magically prevent bad things from happening. You can't. Sorry. I got fear. I've had a fear all my life. I have anxiety all my life. Um, and my anxiety is always telling me that too. My anxiety is always telling me, dude, but worry, worry, worry. Because somehow if I worry enough, I'm gonna avert bad things and prevent negative things from happening. Truth is, what's gonna happen is gonna happen. And me worrying about it doesn't typically change it. It just makes it worse, actually. But that's the lie of the amygdala. The amygdala is like, amygdala is made for dealing with things that are happening right now. It's your fight or flight response. Absolutely helpful, useful in the moment. Using it as a prophetic device, not so useful. My amygdala doesn't know the future any more than any of the rest of my brain. Um, and so that's where I have to take my amygdala and go, no, you know, thanks amygdala for helping me deal with what's going on now, and that's great and useful. But in terms of listening to my amygdala and playing the what if game, that's what I call it, the what if game. What if this? What if that? What if this? What if that? What if he's lying? What if he's going to relapse? What if? What if? What if? It's just all my amygdala worried about tomorrow. And I think my amygdala is really useful when I'm dealing with the present, but it's not useful when it's trying to be some prophetic tool, which it's not. So that's my advice to you is to hear and discern your amygdala, which is what you are, all the what ifs and all the possibilities, and know what that is. That's Amy. That's anxiety speaking. And then when you feel that feeling of peace, listen to that because that's your intuition. That's really going to help you give you a better sense of what really is happening, a better sense of the truth. And that's what we're needing right now. That's like I said in the very beginning. What we need right now is a feeling of truth. And that's what it's going to come through your intuition, not through anxiety. Anxiety is not really good at discernment of truth. All right. So, next question. So, this may sound weird. There's no weird. But anyway, I'll go with the question. This may sound weird, but is it part of intuition just accepting what if it feels wrong? And it is. What's the next? What? Okay. The next time that we just have to decide to move on. So, the wording on this is a little bit off for me. So I'm not quite sure quite how to answer it. Let's keep going, see if I can clarify. And that's why we are doing our recovery so we can. So I think what the question's asking is, what if our intuition is just accepting that we need to move on and we decide to move on? And your intuition could be telling you that's definitely an option, definitely a possibility. And what I hear you asking is, what if your recovery is just all about getting you strong so you can move on? Well, that's a possibility. I don't think that is the point. I don't want you to feel like the only answer is to run. Um, that is a answer, and your intuition may give you that as the answer for you particular situation. But to think that that's the whole answer and the only answer that comes to our intuition, no. So let me keep reading. I know this sounds probably basic, but I think I feel it when things were going on and I didn't face it. I put my head in the sand because it could only be worse to confront him. Well, it's now all out there. So if it rears its ugly head again, I'm out. But how do I know it's intuition and not paranoia or protecting myself or overprotecting myself? Because I feel all messed up as to what to believe nowadays. Hope that makes sense. And again, I want to acknowledge that you've been lied to and you were wondering and you're anxious in the question if you're going to be lied to again. And if you are, you're out. Totally makes sense. And I could hear that you were afraid. You were afraid to listen to your intuition before because it sounds like if you confronted him, and like you said in your question, it's just going to make things worse. He was just going to explode. And again, that's part of his gaslighting is to create drama and scare you away. But um, again, I hear you very much confused in this question. Um, am I protecting myself? Am I overprotecting myself? Because I feel all messed up as to what to believe nowadays. Now, again, let's go back to the purpose of the intuition. Your intuition is just you. It's just your spirit, your soul, your truth. And the purpose of the intuition is to help you feel what is true today. Again, what I hear partly in this question and partly in the last question is that you're maybe kind of looking for prophetic guidance. You're looking for what the future is going to bring. And none of us have crystal balls on that one. And I don't know what the future is going to bring. And again, maybe your intuition is going to tell you what the future is going to bring. I don't typically look at intuition as that kind of a tool. Although, again, I want to say, like I did in the last question, it could be used that way. But what you need to do is calm and quiet all of this chatter. You have so much chatter in your head that you can't think clearly. And that's clearly what you're saying. The question is you got all these what ifs, what ifs, what ifs, and you're looking at every possibility. And what you need to do is stop. Stop. What about this? And what about that? And what about this? And what if this? And what if that? Stop and just think. Well, probably stop and breathe. I breathe first, stop, calm yourself, center yourself, and ask yourself this question: what do I need to do today? Not tomorrow, not next week, not next year. What's going to happen later? I don't know. What do I need to do right now? And if right now what I need to do, like we heard in the last question, is just focus on me and get me in a good place, then that's what I need to do. And if I'm doing that because he is going to relapse and I'm just getting ready for that, I don't know about that. Again, no crystal balls. I'm just going to go with my intuition and say, hey, my intuition's saying I need to focus on me right now, get myself in a good place, strong place, then I need to do that. And your anxiety, Amy, the amygdala, worrying about why you need to do that because he's going to just blow it again tomorrow. I don't know if that's a really good way to focus. Just focus on today. Focus on where you need to be right now, because that's going to help ground you. All right. So again, I can hear your confusion, and man, I can hear all your self-doubts. Self-doubts are when you're questioning yourself, and you have a ton of self-doubts, self-questions. You are the perfect person that needs to listen and quiet yourself and hear peace inside because you're feeling lost. All right. Next question, could you drive more into when should we seek out and follow our intuition? In the third video this week, it sounds like you're saying we use our intuition to decide the next step. This is different than using our intuition to decide what it is our spouse is doing or hiding. I've noted a lot of women here who seems to be down on themselves because they didn't intuit the details of their spouse's behavior. And I'm wondering if that's really how we can apply intuition. I'm wondering if It is more about using it to decide what our own behaviors should be each step of the way when the path is not obvious. Yes, I totally agree with you. Um, we're trying to use intuition as a lie detector test in terms of what our spouse is doing and not doing, like you're saying in your question. And again, intuition definitely could at times help us provide that kind of information. Like he says something, and then my intuition goes, it doesn't match, it doesn't feel right. That's intuition. And again, it may not give me the whole answers like, no, that's not right. And he's doing blah, blah, blah. I don't know about that. But if I feel incongruence, I'm going to feel it in my intuition. If I feel doubt, anxiety, fear, what if, questioning, that's all my amygdala. That's my anxiety talking. That's my what if brain going. And I'm questioning everything. So I think it's absolutely your question, your statement really is absolutely true. Let's use our intuition to kind of feel where we are right now. What do we need to do next? What feels right now? Because I think that's where my intuition works the best is right now. Again, it's not a prophetic tool that I'm looking to, somehow reveal the future because I don't know the future. So yeah, I like the way you said that. Let's use our intuition to hear where we are. And if our spouse is telling us lies, you'll probably feel it in your intuition. Um, but I like like what you said about really let's use our intuition to hear and guide ourselves in terms of where we need to be, where we need to go, and what feels true for me. Maybe not true for you or true for him or true for anybody else. What feels true for me? Okay. All right. This next part of your question. I also have a question about how you would define the difference between intuition and desire, denial, paranoia. Not to start a political discussion, but as an example, some people seem to be intuiting a lot about COVID-19 pandemic. They seem to be at peace with their decisions, even when those decisions seem nonsensical to others. And they've they all have access to the same information. I am not sure we could think of another example. How do you know our intuition isn't delusion? Say your feeling piece is not quite enough detail because I know I've seen people be at peace with decisions that I think are ridiculous. All right, great question. Um, have you ever heard the phrase ignorance is bliss? You heard in the question before, a woman talked about she basically just had her head in the sand. She just didn't want to think about it. And it wasn't like she was really listening to her intuition. She was just in denial. Well, being in denial, keeping your head in the sand, um, not wanting to look, not wanting to see answers, not wanting to be open to things, not listening is not intuition. So I'm agreeing already with your question. That is not intuition. Ignorance is bliss because you just refuse to look at the issues. You refuse to look at the data or look at the facts or look at the reality or look at what's going on. And so that creates a kind of a bubble of ignorance around you. And for a lot of us, that's how we survived. We just didn't want to look. We just didn't want to ask questions. We just didn't want to go there. Yeah, I knew my spouse had a porn problem, or yeah, I had some feelings that something was off, but I just didn't want to go there because it was just too painful. That's not intuition. So if that's your question, I'm 100% agreeing with you. That's not intuition. Intuition is asking yourself for answers. Intuition is looking at the situation, honestly looking at the situation and asking yourself, what do I need to do today? What's the right direction for me now? What feels true to me? That's not denial. That's not putting your head in the sand. That's not avoiding things. That's not being paranoid, right? That's being open. I'm open to information, not closed. Closed is not intuition. Head in the sand, not intuition. Denial, not intuition. Intuition is open. And that's what I'm teaching you, hopefully, to practice. Practice opening yourself up to what does your spirit say? What does your gut tell you? What is your heart saying? What's the truth for you? What do you need to do today? So, great question. That is a very different thing than denial, sticking your head in the sand, refusing to look at things, not wanting to hear. None of that is intuition. That may create a false sense of peace to your question, but you and it sounds like we're on the same page. We agree. Not the same thing. Not at all. All right. Brett, thank you for the energy in which you share your insights with us. You're welcome. I don't know how to take that, but that's okay. You're welcome. Question: how do you guide a client in increasing an intuitive decision-making process to help her determine whether to stay or when it's time to leave? Well, I often find in my intuition, um, it's a matter of practice, just like anything. Um, I think it was actually the first part of the last question. Oh yeah, I didn't even answer the first part of the last question. Could you drive more into when we should seek out and follow our intuition? So it kind of taps into that first part of the last question. Always. You should be listening to your intuition every day. That should be a part of your daily process. And when I work with clients, helping them with their intuition, we just do really simple exercises. Even in session right then and there, we do simple exercises like, okay, let's breathe, let's relax. Okay, let's ask ourselves a question. Is it okay for me to listen to my intuition right now? And let's get quiet. Breathe in, breathe out, clear my head, and listen. And typically the answer is, yeah, yeah, now's a great time to listen to my intuition. But the answer is not even as important as getting people to practice hearing that voice. What does that voice sound like? And that's what you're practicing. You're practicing hearing your intuition. So I would do it every day. Get up, quiet yourself, pray, read scriptures, whatever it is you do, meditate, do yoga, whatever it is you do. Get yourself in that quiet center place and practice every day asking yourself, okay, what would be good for me to focus on today? What would be good for me to do today? What would be something that would help me today? By asking yourself really basic questions like that, and then practicing listening to the answers, and then following through with the answers, you're going to be building muscle. You're going to be building intuition. Man, that's how I do therapy. That's how I do therapy day in and day out. Client walks in the door. I have no idea what I'm going to talk to them about. I have no idea what we're going to work on. Well, that's not always true. Sometimes when I'm praying and meditating in the morning, I get an intuition about people and I go, oh, okay, we got to talk about this today. Okay, we got to address that today. Okay. So sometimes I get an intuitive answer, but a lot of times I get my intuitive answers even right in the session. That's how I do my therapy. I just listen to, okay, what do we need to focus on? What would be useful? What would be helpful? What does this person need right now? And so I let my intuition guide me all the time, all day long, every day, just constantly. And that way you build muscle. So that would be my first part of the answer. Answer the last question, which is when do we use our intuition? Every day. Answer to your question, how do you practice? every day. So just build that muscle. Second part of your question is um, determining whether to stay or whether to leave. Now, I hope, my prayer is that's not the only time you've ever used your intuition, is to answer this one big giant question. My hope is you use your intuition all the time, so you're really getting clear on what your intuition is, what your self-doubts are, the questions, what your anxiety is, the doubts, the worries, the what if game, hearing those three different things in your head. And you're getting really good at that. And then when you're asking this bigger question of, when to stay or when to go, you got a lot of muscle behind you. You got a lot of practice behind you. You got a lot of skill, and you can hear the answer. Now, that kind of a question, what I would do is I do a lot of prayer and a lot of fasting and leave a lot of time. Typically, what I would do is I would sit and I call it floating. We talked about it before. Ask a question and float it. Float it in your head. Does it feel right for me today to stay? Or does it feel right for me today to leave? Hear how I phrase that question? Today. Today. Should I stay today? Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I should. Now, does that mean tomorrow the answer may be different? Because tomorrow his behavior may be different? Yeah. Yeah. He may be working, like we talked about in the very first question, he may be very much working his program today. And tomorrow, he may lose it. He may absolutely go off the rails. And tomorrow, you'll get a different answer. And that's okay. That's okay. Because it's not a static situation. In this moment, does it feel right for me to stay? Yeah. Okay. In this moment, I'm going to stay. Tomorrow, I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. So today, I'm going to listen to what my intuition is and follow that. And it works the other way too. There may be moments when I ask my intuition, should I stay? Do I need to stay? Should I go? And my intuition says, you need to leave. And I go, okay. I feel peace about that. That's scary. That's big. That's huge. Okay. But I feel peace about that. And then, I make my arrangements. I set it all up. And then it's almost like Abraham, at the altar with his son, about to kill his son because God told him to sacrifice him. At the very moment, he goes, "No, okay, yeah, just change. It's okay. It's fine." And I've seen that before. I've seen one gal. She's just discovered her husband's having affairs. He's been having affairs. He's been lying. All the garbage that goes along with that. She goes to the temple. She's sitting in the temple parking lot in her car praying, just looking for answers. And in God's mercy, he answers. And he says, you can go. What a great answer. You can go. He frees her and lets her choose. If she wants to go, she could go. He doesn't tell her, go. He says, you can go. She's like, okay. And she's totally relaxed. All the fear goes away. All the anxiety goes away. All the doubt goes away. She's like, okay, I can go. She drives home. She tells her husband what happened. She's like, okay, I'm going to go. And he's like, oh, and he's like on his knees and repentant. And that was a turning point for him. That was a huge moment for him, because the reality of what was going on for him, boom, that was his rock bottom. It hit him. And he decided that he wanted to change. And I'm sorry, it took that dramatic of a moment for him to do that, but it happened that way. He decided at that moment he's going to work. He's going to knock this bull crap off, and he's going to work his program. She asked her intuition again. Yeah, I'm going to stay. And that was okay too. It wasn't like this static answer, go and go forever. It was go. And then he changed And because he changed, she could change her answer too. And it works both ways. If he changes and he's out acting out, you can change your answer and leave. Or if you're leaving and he's changing his answer and he wants to really work a program, honestly and sincerely, then you can also change your answer. And today, answers change. It's okay. Intuition's a fluid thing. Listen to it every day. Listen to it. All right. She goes on and talks about in this question, right now, my intuition, intellect, and emotion are so entangled that when it comes down to leaving versus staying, there's no sense of peace around staying or going right now. Yeah. So your first thing you got to do, if that's your truth, first thing you got to do is you got to focus on you. First thing you got to do is you got to get away, pray, fast, spend some time in the mountains, at the beach, with your family. I don't care. Wherever it is you need to go, go. And you need to spend some time clearing because your head's too cluttered. You need to clear, center, focus. Maybe it'll take a weekend. Maybe it'll take a week. Maybe it'll take a month. I don't know. Who knows these things? Your intuition is going to take the time it needs. Center yourself till you can feel peace. And then when you feel peace, then ask the question. But right now, you got no peace. So I wouldn't be struggling with this. Relax. All right, my husband has porn addiction. Started when he was 11. Triggered alcoholic family. He agrees to join SA, find a sponsor, keep some strong boundaries, which gives you some hope. Yet, here's the key part, yet until he truly signs up, it's all just words. I can really, truly only trust his actions at this point. Boom. Yeah, and you said you didn't have an intuition. Holy smokes, girl. That's your intuition right there. Your intuition's telling you. Don't listen to his words. Listen to his actions. That is right. I wouldn't listen to a word this guy says. Watch his behavior. If he's working a program, great. If he's not working a program, that's not a safe place for you to be because he's not in any kind of recovery. So I think you already got your intuition. Listen to it. Follow it. I think it sounds completely right. All right. The next question. I'd love to create some boundaries and consequences combo around my husband's involvement with his mother's finances versus our household. Any suggestions on how to approach this? Well, that sounds like a great question for our boundary workshop, but I'm going to skip ahead because once again, I love you guys because you guys are awesome. And oftentimes you answer your own questions within your own questions. So I'm going to skip down the bottom of this where you say, I want kids. And the doctor says either we start within this next year or freeze my eggs. Yet I really want to see momentum towards recovery in porn addiction and mother enmeshment. He's set some good boundaries. Only area left is with his money. Before I'd agree to any of what he's suggesting. Boom. Boom. You just answered your own question. Before you do anything, he's got to follow these basic parameters. He's got to work his program. He's got to set some boundaries and he's got to deal with his money issues. If he ain't doing his work, there's nothing for you to do. So I think you've already answered your question. I love your answer. I'd stick to that answer. He needs to deal with that money issue. He needs to figure out what his choices are. And I think that is a perfect boundaries and consequence. He needs to figure out what he's going to do with his money in terms of, is he going to devote it to you? and the house and the kids and the you guys growing? Or is he going to continue to be out there rescuing his mom? If he is, that's not going to work for you. I totally agree. So I like it when you guys make my job easy. Answer your own questions. Awesome. Totally support you. All right. Last one. Hi. I have another question. Can you recommend any resources regarding recovery done, research done regarding intuition? Thanks for your help. All right. This is a great question. Why this is a great question is because research is a very brainy, heady thing. It's an academic thing. Intuition is a very spiritual, heartfelt, even godly thing. You're asking me, is there research heady on spirit? No, not much. Not much good stuff. Because they're kind of like not together, right? You know, academia, science loves to look at things that it can measure, count, touch, feel. So, could I steer you towards good research on the existence of God? Probably not, because there is none. Because research scientists don't like these questions. They don't like to ask about God, intuition, spirit. Those are things that cannot touch, measure, or quantify. So it sticks with things that it likes to quantify. So those two things kind of don't go together very well. So you're not going to find a lot of good research on intuition. However, that said, Daniel Siegel, he's an MD neurologist who talks a lot about brain neurophysiology, how the brain works, how the brain structures. And his favorite area of study is mindfulness. And there is a lot of good study research that shows mindfulness or mindfulness practices, meditations, something we can quantify, actually produces improved moods, helps people in terms of decreased anxiety, improves the quality of people's lives. And so Daniel Siegel is really good. I would probably start with his book, Aware, and where he talks about how to practice awareness and being mindful, because intuition, listening to intuition, is a very mindful practice. So Daniel Siegel would be a book I would kind of steer you towards. Is it going to show you a lot of research? No. But is it going to teach you about brain neurophysiology and teach you about some mindfulness exercises and how those kind of blend together? Yeah. So that may be the bridge that you're kind of looking for and asking about. But that's kind of where I go. I like his work. Have to warn you, his work's a little bit heady because he is a doctor, and it's a little bit at times hard to follow. Dry, maybe is a great word. So just warning you that way. It is what it is, but that's where I would go. Thanks so much for your intuition questions. Sorry this was delayed. Again, I was on vacation out of town, out of the country, really. But I'm back, and I do appreciate your questions. See you later. Again, this is Brett with You Bloom.